wants to hear of that toxic cell. The bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all the toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? No sound, no sound, no sound. Did you hear the oh man. Let me see if I see. Let me see now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay, now we're going. Wow, man. After all that I said, man, well, like I said, my boyka.
Buyaka, buyaka, bondo, buyaka. Maboyka. Ituno. Kinati. I don't know, my sisters and brothers, once again. Greetings. Welcome. Right? Right? Welcome. Thank you, Red Rice. Thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings. Greetings. Rahubat. Rahubat to my Sabig, my brothers and sisters, my Wapian brothers and sisters out there. You know what I'm saying? My Zamal Tat U sisters Wu Zamal U. You know what I'm saying? My brothers, man. Rahubat greetings and what hub, welcome. You know what I'm saying? Bienvenido. Ven, un saludo, un abrazo a todos mis latinos. No solamente latinos, mi español, mi Iberio, mi gente de Iberia, if you want to look at it like that. Pero son africanos también. You're Africans. You know what I'm saying? That mixture. But anyway, bienvenido mi hermanas, mi hermanos, bienvenidos a todos ustedes, man. And again, welcome, sisters and brothers, man. Hey, listen, doing a great job. We're doing good. We're doing good. Even we got little hiccups here and there and there and there, but still, we're doing good. And I noticed all those festivities going on, the spring festivities, man. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait for the summer ones because right now in the spring, I'm all messed up. Like I said, my eyes all puffy and everything. This pollen, man. I'm very allergic to the pollen, stuff like that. Many people in my family are. This is not our condition. You know what I'm saying? Naturally, what I'm saying, genetically. But the pollen and stuff in the spring and stuff like that spreading out. I should not open up my window, but I got my window open, so I did do that. But yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess now you got to drink a lot of tea, but I can't wait for the summer. Bye, Alberto. Hey, Hua, Hanu, hey, what's going on? Yeah, yeah. So, um, I started out by saying that I was watching King Simon. He's got Mama Pill on there, and he showed pictures of Miami, and I was like, wow, man. Something about that Florida sun. You know what I'm saying? The Sunshine State, and if you go to the beach, if that beach and you put the sand on your bro, that your skin just glisten. I'm telling you, you go to Florida. I'm telling you, when I lived in Florida for 20 years and I came to visit New York, people were like, yo, you was in a suntanner, man, because you damn orange. You look tan, like you getting dark. I had a real dark sister tell me, you trying to get darker than me? What's going on? Because I get very melanated, very dark under the sun, a lot, a lot. You know what I'm saying? But man, beautiful. And then I said, well, you go to the islands? Wow, man, they go to the beach. You see, I'm from the beach, Mount Nabo, that part of the island of Borinquen. You know what I'm saying? And man, ooh, when they put that sand on them, and they got some black sand and some regular sand, and they put that on them. Wow, and they light it, and then they go in the water with that pure, clean green water. It's green, bluish green water, and clear. You can actually see fishes in it. Oh man, beautiful. The women come out of there glistening, shining, and it's like a walking sun. Man. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. You see, that's the advantage we have. We can go to the island. You go to Borinquen, you don't need a passport. You go to Borinquen, you're here in the United States. Go over there and go to the ocean, and put that sand over you. Especially if you go to the south, Mount Nabo, Guadalajara, Patilla, those beaches out there, man. Woo, man, what? And so, as I was thinking about that, and I was saying, damn, the culture is so beautiful in terms of the location. We got the location, we got the culture, because certain parts you go to, there, you hear playing out and bomba, and you hear drums. You see a festival, and people hanging out in the cafe playing drum. You see that culture, yeah, and you say to yourself, where did all this thing come from? Where? So I started digging in, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wow, man, where did this all come from? This sense of, I don't know, African rhythm and everything. And then when I started to look into Wu Sabat, Saba, and the Queen of Sheba, the African Kingdom Federation, right? And then I started looking up and reading books about, for instance, I read the one about Cristoforo Colon, right? Christopher Columbus, you know what I'm saying? All the letters, not only Christopher Columbus, but the men that were on those ships was writing letters back to España, to Spain. And they were talking about they were looking for the city of Saba. you know, say, or Fava, Saba. So they thought it was in Cuba, in the interior of Cuba, you know. But come to find out, Cuba, where all the Siboney was also off of the island of Puerto Rico. You have, I think, St. Vincent, some of these islands, right? There's a city called Saba there. There's a city called Saba right there. And I was looking at it, I was like, yo, look at this. Right close to Puerto Rico. And the mostly the indigenous people that first inhabited that island were from Siboney. And I said, look at that. I have Siboney lineage. Yeah, Siboney from Cuba. You know what I'm saying? When they did my DNA, it shows up. I have a genetic sequence with Siboney. I got Boricua from Puerto Rico, but I also have Siboney from Cuba. And I was like, wow, look at this. This is deep. And then, you know, looking at the whole, you know, Moorish paradigm and things that went on in all these islands, you say, man, look at that. And there's a city called Saba right there, right there. And then when you look into the continent of Africa, what time is it? I got 6 more minutes. When you look into the continent of Africa, then you see the city of Soba, you know, and remember the A, the E, all that is interchangeable in linguistics. Soba is really is Saba, right? Because the Queen of Sheba coming out of southern Arabia with Yemen, all the way down to the horns of Africa, Ethiopia, and even down to West Sudanic. You know what I'm saying? They first came out of the Nile Valley, you know what I'm saying? Out of ancient Kemet, down the Nile Valley, and Kush that went into Kemet, and Kush that were all throughout the Nile Valley. And they formed a city called Meroe, and underneath that was Soba or Saba. You know what I'm saying? And those mean seven. Seven lineages came out of there and went into Sumer, went into Iraq, Iran, went into Yemen, and which is Saudi Arabia and the horns of Ethiopia and stuff like that. You know, interesting read. So I'm reading, you know, the what's the name of it? Nagas, the Kares Nagas, something like that. Um, I I could probably pull it up in a few, but yeah, you know, doing a lot of readings on stuff. Let me fix this. Doing a little reading like that. So I'm like, wow, man, look at this because I'm dealing with the Caribbean. I'm looking into my culture more and more and more, and what amplifies. You know what I'm saying? You become a spiritual person. You want to inspire. So what inspiration can I gain from the ancestors? Connect with the ancestors at the same time from the location. And that's part of it. The earth, that part of location and where that location and the migration, the ancestors, how they migrated, and so and so and so. You know, you start following that line. You know what I'm saying? And very interesting read comes up and very interesting things come up. You know what I'm saying? That's getting in tune with your earth magnetic field so you don't doubt. I don't doubt. You know what I'm saying? I don't doubt that I got, you know what I'm saying? That I have Iberian Peninsula blood. You know what I'm saying? Genetics. I don't doubt it. It shows up scientifically and also in my family history. And then I don't doubt that I got African. You know what I'm saying? I found out it was Mali, Congo, and Benin, but now I know, but still Africa, you know what I'm saying? And learning about Wu Sabat, Saba, West Sudani, and back in the Ansar Allah, the connection with the Mahdi. But remember, the Mahdi army was Egyptians and Sudanese. And of course, he had the Fuzzy Wuzzy from who were all throughout Ethiopia also. So many tribes. And who knows down the Nile, Sabiic tribes. You know what I'm saying? You because they were traders. You know, they used to trade. They used to help most of the trade coming down into the area. You know what I'm saying? They still had, you know, families that were trading down through the horns of Africa, or Ethiopia, all the way up to Sudan and Egypt. You know, that trade. So you got to follow that. You know what I'm saying? Um, very interesting read. Very interesting read. So, you know, as a spiritual, you want to inspire. So, man, we're Boricuas. You know what I'm saying? We got Boricua and Boricua with Africano and Iberia. Where's the connection? How is this able to happen? You know what I'm saying? And what's the connection? You know what I'm saying? What's the core of that? Because we each have a core, what they say, eye, a spiritual eye, an eye the core of it. You know what I'm saying? The center of our very, very being as an individual, as a family, as tribe, as a community. The central, what's the center? As a community, you know what I'm saying? And on as humanity, what's the center of it? You know what I'm saying? So when you're able to find your way through that and hit that target, booyaka, like they say. You know what I'm saying? So, I got 2 more minutes. Let me put on my chants. I got to chant a little here. It's 9 o'clock. Keep that nine etheric energy. Nine is the perfect number. Nine. It's one of the prime number, but it's perfect because after nine only comes compound number, but it is the highest of the single numbers. You know what I'm saying? you know. Excuse me, let me clear my throat. Put a little echo to this as I do, as I say the pa tak yud, the affirmation. So I'm gonna say it first in Sabiic and then I'm gonna say it in English. You know what I'm saying? Pretty soon I'll be doing it in Spanish. I just don't want to trip up too much. Pa tak yud, the affirmation. Anukai jawif pa ashuk impa paut. I am in the divine, caring love of the all expanding. Wu kali ashukawun jawif niya. And all divine love is in me. Niya. Anukai kwasawun impa paut. I am part of the all expanding. Wu pa paut kawun kwasawun im niya. And the all expanding is part of me. Anukai waho ameh pa paut. I am one as the all expanding. Wo pa paut kawung waho ameh niya. And the all expanding is one as me. Nakuk kwadur naju ameh kwasaum impa paut. I can succeed as part of the all expanding. Wo habub ameh mushraf and fail as an individual person. Nakuk kadur kawan kalif pa fif nakuk dayur jawif pa paut. I can be all that I want in the all expanding. Wasa dayar ni kawun lake bakoy jawif pa paut. As long as my want is to stay in the all expanding. Anukai yabid bayin fashni. I'm never by myself. Pa paut kawun anuki. And the all expanding is I am. Pa paut kadur nakuk kadur. And the all expanding I can. Pa paut amul nakuk amul. And the all expanding does, I do. Okay. And I'm just gonna do that. So as we go on, I'm not gonna stay too long here. Because the simple reason I just wanted to do an introduction. I should have mentioned it. Because I want to do a presentation on this. A presentation so that you can look into the same files, right? And the same information that I'm receiving, the same thing, right? And then look at it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? And see what you come up with. You know what I'm saying? Because I did the presentation before on another channel about the Mali Empire. But one thing I didn't do, right, is that we also have to define what is an empire as opposed to a civilization, as opposed to a federation, right? As opposed, what is a parliament? What is a kingdom? Or what is a queendom? All this we have to define. So we should have defined empire. An empire is, let's do it now. Let's look at empire. I'm just going to traditionally do it with a calendar, with a dictionary that I have. Let me see if this dictionary is good enough. Let me see. Empire, right? Okay. Empire is a noun. an extensive group of states or countries under a single supreme authority, right? Formerly, especially an emperor or an empress, like the Roman Empire had an emperor, an empress. That's an emperor. So the empire. So the empire had an emperor, Mansa Musa. At first, it was Abu Bakari. It was the first Mansa, right? But then Mansa Musa, he left. He vacated because he went to go through to transcend the encompassing sea. He had the desire to just go out there and navigation and go ships and stuff. And so he left the throne, the emperorship, the kingdom to his brother, Mansa Musa. It's a supreme political power over several countries when exercised by a single authority. So that's the Mali Empire came out of the Songhai Empire, the Ghana Empire, right? And you also had a Congo. But then the Mali Empire is one of the most um, successful one of you may say because of Mansa Musa and traveling, and also because of those ships. You see, that's what you see, this is where you got to put 9 reasons, and this is where you got to put the 9 mind into it. Because you say, well, wait a minute, how successful they were so successful? What? And then you got to look at the agriculture and the commodities that they had, and even the gold. And you look at it, you're saying like, wow, you know what I'm saying? And when you look at that agriculture, you're saying, wow, but it's similar to the Latin America or the the Western Hemisphere and the Caribbean and stuff, and Yucatan area and all that. You're like, wow, So that's you say, well, so it is a possibility there was trade going on because there's again, I'll bring it up, I guess, in the presentation, show you I don't know if it's a primary source, but it's definitely citing some primary source in there of a letter of a journalist, an historian, and he was a journalist who followed Mansa Musa, right, and wrote it in Arabic and wrote an account, and was able to ask the emperor the question of how he obtained all his ambassadors and people around him, because the emperor has ambassadors and have ministers and commanding officers and stuff like that, of how did he obtain that emperorship. And they told him the story, and he wrote it down. And this is in 1354, I believe. You know what I'm saying? So again, an empire, a large commercial organization owned or controlled by one person or a group. It could be an organization, an empire, an extensive operation sphere activity controlled by one person. So it's usually, as again, you see, commonly is controlled by a single authority. That's in the Mali Empire. That single authority was a kingship. Just like in the Queen of Sheba, the African Kingdom Federation, well, you got the Queen of Sheba in the Parliament. That's being controlled by the Queendom. And the Queen of Sheba, Deborah Casamura. That's what that is. And so, Mansa Musa and this line, and they became the Kita, and that whole line. So that whole line. So that's an empire. So the Mali Empire. Very usual. You had different countries and states. So it spread out. The empire has many different countries. So Sudan, Congo, Benin, got all those countries, Senegal, all those countries were under the Mali Empire. It was easy for Abu Bakr II to commission to have 2,000 ships. It didn't all come from one area. It came from many different areas, right? Some countries sponsored certain ships because they were into the shipping industry. You know what I'm saying? Or they were given an opportunity to get into the shipping industry because Mali already had knowledge of that. The Berbers, the Idris dynasty, you know what I'm saying? And on and on and on, already had knowledge of this. You know what I'm saying? Because they had it, again, the Piru map. But so I'll show all this, so the presentation is going to be about that. So then you look at, the city of Soba, or Saba, and Soba, you know what I'm saying? Look at that city. And I was able to find a lot of things about the city, and I was able to find about the people and how they travel, and and the mention in the Bible. It mentions Sabaeans in the Bible a few times, not in a good light. You know what I'm saying? But it does mention them. You know, not always in a good light, but not all of it is not. You know, there's some good. You know, it tells men of stature, the Sabaean. You know what I'm saying? That was a lineage. You know what I'm saying? They had their kings and chiefs. You know, the emperor that was ahead of all that was Mansa Musa, the Mali Empire. You know what I'm saying? But of course, you had, you know, throughout the Nile Valley and all that in Sudan, you didn't have one emperor over it. Even you had a Solomonic line that more up into Ethiopia, and you had the Queen in the Sheba line. You know what I'm saying? Down coming from Yemen into the horns of Africa and Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? But you know, the empire, the Mali Empire, was very, very huge. You know, very huge at that point, and that's from the 1300s. We're talking about in the 1300s. You know, of course, they're saying there were Africans coming here, even be predating that. You know what I'm saying? Because they found certain glyphs, Moorish, Iberian glyph, Mauritania glyphs. You know, they find a lot of that in North America. You know what I'm saying? So it's baffling them. Okay, they're not revealing a lot of those anomalies. They don't reveal it, but you just have to do the work out there. You know, it just happened to be that. Sometimes it come to me, and I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying? And these uploads that I receive, genetic uploads I receive. You know what I'm saying? Very, very important. But yeah, the connection with the island of Borinquen in Cuba, the Caribbean, it's a lot my concentration. You know what I'm saying? My center. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, that center also encompasses into Africa. You know what I'm saying? That center consists of the ingredients is again Iberia, Mali, right? And the indigenous Taino coming out of the Amazon River. You know what I'm saying? The Tainos. So all of this, that's the center right there. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of this, the connection to Wu Sabat, it's something that I'm discovering. I'm like, wow, what's going on here? Let's go because you see the culture. I'm looking at the culture, the bomba, the culture in Santo Domingo, the culture in there. And not only because they brought a Nigerian Ifa, and not only because of the Yoruba people coming in, the Akang and the Igbo, not only that, you find still a resonant of a culture that is not in that particular venue of Ikang, Akan, Igbo, those Ifa, you know what I'm saying? So you have a mixture. There's something in there. Saba, you know what I'm saying? And then when you look at some of Santana where they have the white and the Emma, that's Olofi, I believe. You know what I'm saying? And then you look at it and you say, wow, it's been the connection is there. And then in the location of the island, it's there. There's a city called Saba. And wherever these Sabaeans, when they came over with the Mali Empire, because this is what I'm leading up to. You know what I'm saying? They're not letting us know that they were not only Akan people, Egbo people, but they were Idris dynasty came over. The Idris dynasty came over. Well, okay. Definitely the Mali Kita came over with Abu Bakari, but he had the Idris dynasty, right? Coming out of Bila and going into Morocco and coming down, you know what I'm saying? You had the Idris dynasty, and then you had West Bantu people, you know what I'm saying? And then you had what you call Sabaean people, more like Moorish Sabaean people, navigators. You know what I'm saying? They show this dress, and this was the traditional dress, wearing the Emma and the long gown. This goes back into ancient Kemet. The Emma, not so much because they wore crowns, but who knows? You know what I'm saying? They did have a shawl, white shawl, and they did have the white long gown. But this goes all the way down to Sudan and all the way down into Saba. And then even it goes even down into Yemen, Saudi Arabia and Yemen. So Saudi Arabia started wearing a different dress, right? With the robe, black robe, and the shawl over, right? So they started wearing different, because of the mixture with the Ottoman. The Persians had the different way of wrapping their hair. So you follow even these customs and fashion, and you're saying, like, wow, there's a connection here. There is a connection. Am I saying, oh man, you're going too far? Bro, there's a connection. You know what I'm saying? When you start finding out who you really are, and start and I'm telling you, once I started to chant the proper way, and once I started to learn my sabi mispati lahaj nunguna, I was like, yo, it's starting to open up this, and I'm like, it's leading me somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And then it's leading me back into the Caribbean. I'm like, yo, there's something about our culture that's powerful, and it links up with ancient Kemet. That's what I'm telling you. And Mali. It just links up, and I've been seeing that whole connection. I say, that's why I was so attracted to this genetic doctrine back in Ansar. When I'm walking down the Wall Street, I see these brothers dressed in white with their hair wrap, and it intrigued me. I'm like, yo, what? You know what I'm saying? You find an affinity for it, and likeness. You say, wow, man, I vision myself like that. I vision myself in an oasis. You know what I'm saying? I vision myself in the oasis in the tribal camp of the Mahdi. Really, really. As a matter of fact, a brother brought a picture over when we was Ansar. He brought a picture that says, "Look, this is a picture of they have of a group, a battalion that helped fight also with the Mahdi, because they have still photographed later on, and other guys became home." And he said, "Look, that looks just like you." I was floored. I was like, "What the hell, yo? I don't remember that. That's not me. That's definitely not me." Because I know when I was born. I was born in 1961. But again, genetically, there's a link there. There's information that's being passed. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we've been shuffled, but they can't help it. You can shuffle the cards, but you're still gonna get there's still a two of hearts up in that month, sucker, unless you take it out. There's still a two of diamonds in there. There's still a queen of diamonds in there. You know what I'm saying? You can shuffle all you want. It's still in there. You're not shuffling it out. You know what I'm saying? So interesting. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Wusabat or Miss Batia, you know what I'm saying? Become Miss Batia, because it's a glow S sa, and it's a glow ta. Miss Batia Lahaj, because it's a ha, not a he. Lahaj, it's lahaj. So again, when I started paying attention to the language and the tones and stuff, because of the Arabic Fusa that we was given in the classes that we received, that I personally received with Suleiman Sisi and Empire Nabayanan at that time, Ali Mamisa Hadi Mahdi was giving us instructions, stuff like that, man. And learned about diphthongs and learning how to properly pronounce. This is taking over into the Wu Sabat, to the Mispatia. And the reason why is because they're doing study now, even in Saudi Arabia, and they're looking at the Sabiic like that predates Arabic Fusa. Muspatia predates, and a lot of the words are so similar to Arabic Fusa. But what came first was the Sabiic, was a Mispati. Lahaj came first before the Arabic Fusa. You know what I'm saying? Because then you're going into thousands of years, thousands BC. You know what I'm saying? In that in those kingdoms, that came out of the Ma'a Federation. You know what I'm saying? It's called the Fish Federation, the Ma'a Federation. You know what I'm saying? So when you tie all this back, I like doing that. Again, truth is all those puzzles fitting perfectly neatly together, and you just tie it all back. But I share that. I share that with you. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to put myself out there. And if something I'm missing is something I'm not right, something I'm missing, you have any questions that make me think even harder and think even more, by all means, man, you're welcome to. By all means. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you want to do it now, you can just call this number right here. All right? I'll put in the ticker right there. But if not, you know what I'm saying? It's important. You know what I'm saying? The study is very, very important. I mean, I know that a lot of my brothers and sisters always trace themselves back to West Africa. You know what I'm saying? I do. I can tell you, I got Congo, Benin is West Africa, but Mali, and Mali is really in West Africa. But in West African culture, there's necessarily, um, you got the Akan, you got the Ashanti, Akan, you got all some tribes. If I don't have, the Igbo, you know what I'm saying, the Fulanis, you got many different tribes to throw all the sections, you know what I'm saying, especially in Mali. So it's not, but I see a lot of people connect themselves back to Igbo. They connect themselves back to the Nigeria and Ifa and stuff like that. I got a little percentage of Nigeria also in the blood, you know what I'm saying. But primarily the majority in my DNA is Mali, and which is Seneca Gambia, which is Mali, and then Congo is the next one, and then Benin. Those three, that combination right there is very strong in my genetics. You know what I'm saying? And but you see, it's all again. So I like to just go further and say, okay, so it's a tree and with different branches. So you got this different branch, this branch, that branch. So how, but where's the trunk? Where's the center of it? Because a tree, you look at the center, you cut a tree and you see the ring, and you see it has a center of it. Where's the center of it? Where's that first stem that sprouted and became that tree? That stem is what I look for. You know what I'm saying? And that leads you back into the Happy Valley, and that leads you back into Uganda. When you look at it leads you back to the Ma Federation, and the Ma Federation reaching out into the Green Sahara, you know what I'm saying, to the Abiru Mauritania area, where Morocco is at. Well, all these places was known by those names, you know that, wasn't it? That whole section, matter of fact, in ancient time was called Utla. Utla. You know what I'm saying? Utla was a place to vacate. People always travel from the east to the west. Why? Because the sun rises from the east and sets in the west. They always want to go to the end. You know what I'm saying? That's the way of travel. We're traveling this way. We want to travel north. You make sure that the east and the west, you're in the middle, you're in between, equally balanced. That's north. And then south is the opposite, right? That's learning how direction works. And that's dimensions, you know what I'm saying, as far as direction is concerned. Longitude and latitude and stuff like that. So that section was Utla, and that section involved, again, you got to look at geographical oceanography, and that's the problem with a lot of scholars, is that they get stuck to one narrative, right? But they can't expand, because it's all about power to expand your knowledge, expand your information. You know what I'm saying? And they want to stay so contracted. You know what I'm saying? But I understand. You know what I'm saying? You know, and sometimes, but I look at it like this: that even though that one little individual that dropped, still has the multiverse within them. You know what I'm saying? That exists within them. So you can look at it like that. You know. But now, in speaking about Saba, Soba, and Sheba, again, there is a lineage. So I'm learning. So you said to yourself, well, how can you believe in the Solomonic dynasty and lineage, kingship, and also the Queen of Sheba, when those are names that are used in the Bible? People are always going to try to twist things around. But did you ever thought about that the Bible took those locations and those tribes and added it into the Bible just to validate it? Because in order for you to tell a lie, you got to know the truth. And you got to take the truth and you got to separate it, right? You got bits and pieces here and there and there. And you rebrand it, reform it to your narrative. And at the end of the day, it's all about echo. It's all about, not about the ego, it's about the echo, the habitat, and the environment. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So you see the switcheroo thing going on. So then you say the queen of Sheba is just known as Sheba because of a biblical term, but it's actually the queen of Saba. It's a Sabaean line. And the Solomonic lines are Ethiopian lines. You know what I'm saying? I forgot what's the name they call it, but it's the line that comes out of the marriage of the Sabaeans, Saba, and those tribes that came from Ethiopia, the Abyssinians. The Abyssinians are what you call the Solomonic dynasties. The Abyssinians, right? They mixed in with Sabaeans, those dynasties, those lineages. And when that linked in, then you have that whole, and you can find this also in ancient Kemet with Hatshepsut, right? And about that whole situation. But we ain't gonna go there. You know what I'm saying? But then this, again, this is learning about queendoms, kingdoms, those houses, those lineages that come out of there. You know what I'm saying? Very, very important. Very important. Yeah. So you say this stuff, so you can't disregard and everything about religious people because they're just caught up in the story and stuff like that. But then there's important information in there that you can attain, and you can say, okay, let me match it up with science and let me match it up with historical events. Let me match it up with what's happening now. You know what I'm saying? So you do have a parliament. You have an African Union that's been existing since 1962, I believe. The African Union. You have the African Union, right? You have the United Nations in 1942, right? The United Nations, right? The League of Nations, all these nations getting together. Then you got the African Union, right? And then you got the the federations from the South, where South Africa, the South, and also involves the diaspora. Those are the kingdoms that come from the Congo down. Those kingdoms and chiefs and chiefs that has a lineage. You got kings and it's a line, it's an unbroken line. You know what I'm saying? And then and it's spread. Houses marry houses. You know, in these different houses, marry houses. Like the Mahdi, the people from the Mahdi and that bloodline marry into the Sanusis and marry into the other tribes that's out there and became the Idris. You know what I'm saying? And you got to follow how houses works and how lineages works and stuff like that, especially in Africa. And you look at that. So then you say to yourself, oh, wow, this is real talk, man. We take this very seriously. Lineage, these houses. That's the reason why the Europeans take that seriously, the Rothschilds and all that. They take that very, very seriously. I was watching on Netflix The House of Borgia. Borgia. I watched the whole thing because it's about those different cardinals belong to certain houses, like in Italy. But the Borgia came from Spain. They were a house of nobility, dukes and kings from Spain that took over the Pope, the seat. Vatican City took over where that seat was, that who was like the vicar of Christ, was that emperor of that Christianity queendom, what they call the Christendom, right? So all these houses had elect cardinals, like ambassadors from those houses into Vatican City, and the cardinals sit, and then they elect a pope who belonged to a certain house. The Medici house, or the house of Guth, the house of that's German house. They have German popes, Polish pope. Um, the house of Cologne, the house of Milan. Oh, yeah, many different houses in Rome, around Rome, and they would send ambassadors, and they wanted to connect with the Pope, who was the king, not the king. The Pope was the emperor, right? The vicar of Christ, the emperor, right? The biggest seat, right? And to get his blessings, you know what I'm saying? So they can get a cardinal up in there, an ambassador. So maybe one day in the house, and they'll be elected. I suppose very good, very good. I mean, makes sense. Yeah, so when you go to so I was watching that and I was like, yo, I'm studying how these different kingships, and I'm into that right now. Kings and queens, and how's that established, those lineages, and so and so and so. What happened? How they become displaced in these different houses, and how they intermarry, and the work that they do globally, global work, global. They control raw materials. They control the raw materials around you. These different houses. You know what I'm saying? So it's just you know getting to know that venue, getting to know that whole thing, so that we know, like for us, Sabians, right? Panabayanan, saying very, he's like for us. Well, Yananan is like the etheric being, the head of the etheric beings, one of the elders, right? Galactical elders, right? But the grand sovereign grand commander, right? And our emperor, his excellency, our president, our emperor is Pad Nabayananin, also known as his excellency Malachi Z. Kabina York. You know what I'm saying? He runs, he's the authority. He's running, that house. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I think his sister's sitting in for him on that. She's known as the clan mother. You know what I'm saying? So those are those different houses that has to be acknowledged. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, we belong, we have association with so many different houses. You know what I'm saying? But then you have to know how to know from one house and distinguish it from another house, and not to overstep in the boundaries of those houses like that. You know what I'm saying? And as an ambassador, you're able to go from house to house as an ambassador to represent your ambassador to a queendom, right? And as long as that, those rules and regulations, those edict, those ideas and concepts, and those emotions, everything is on place, and it's showing that it's beneficial for humanity. Then that's what and the benefits that comes with that, and that's what you're rolling with. You know what I'm saying? That's what you roll with. You know what I'm saying? But then you could be sent, you know, you could extend yourself to other houses and say, hey, listen, this is the way we're working, this is the way what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? This can help your house. You know what I'm saying? Because some houses are being just establishing. You know what I'm saying? Some houses, it's like establishing a sovereign state. Some of them are just establishing now. And they have ran to certain things, but again, we're born sovereign. You know what I'm saying? We're born sovereign. It's only when you start involving yourself in corporate paperwork, when you start getting into the paperwork, that is how the switching bait is. They put the paper in front of us. Now what they're going to put in front of you are the algorithms, are NFTs and algorithms and the blockchain technology, those smart contracts, right? They're going to put Ethereum in front of you, the smart contracts now. You know what I'm saying? But before, it was a contract, was a commodity contract, agricultural contract at that. You know what I'm saying? And it was a commodity, right? Those contracts was given, we're being caught up in that paperwork. You know what I'm saying? So there are those brothers and sisters that study that and say, we're born sovereign. But in order for me to operate in this commercial venue, I got to prove it. So I got to get my paperwork online. Simple as that. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Why? Because now you're in their game, their chess game. So now you got to go with our rules. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not involved in those rules and you're able to maintain yourself as a sovereign person, and you belong to a tribal identity, nationality, tribal, that the paperwork already has been done by your chief. You see, he sits in United Nations. Your chief has the proper edict and paper. He's recognized by certain. He's got certain seals. He got certain. Again, you see that happening in Borgia. The seals are put in it. Yeah, they have that already. You know what I'm saying? And then they extend that to you, and they give you a seal on your certificate of saying that yes, you are a member of this particular federation. You are a member of this federation. Bam, bam, bam. You know what I'm saying? Just like in Wu Sabat and a lot of the schools that we went through, you had the black house, right? You had the blue house, black house, the white house, and all these different houses. But these were houses of school of thoughts, right? But when you went through the AEO and that house of AEO, right, you get a certificate with a stamp on it, a approval stamp on it, right? Same thing with the Sons of the Green Light. We got a certificate with a stamp on it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that. Masonic school too. We receive our certificate with a stamp on it. Big certificate. I wish I would have kept mine. I don't, man, I don't even want to think about it. But anyway, this is tribal work and getting that, so now when you want to do commercial work, first thing you want to go create a trust, you want to go into their venue, which is dealing with banking and trust and stuff like that. But let me tell you something, they learned it from the Moors that were the Millennium Moors that were here. They learned it from the Masons. They learned it because your first, again, city halls were built by these Millennium Moors that were here. They say we call them Moors because that's what they define them, but they were from the Mali Empire. And not only from the Mali Empire, the Idris dynasty empire, the Idris dynasty, the different houses that came through America, through the Caribbean, came through North America to Louisiana, to Haiti, and then to Louisiana, that came through and then mixed in with Native American because they had their houses too. Native American also had their system of houses too because they had, that all goes back to the Olmecs. You know what I'm saying? So again, the study of that, when you deal with sovereignty, it's just the simple thing is you're born sovereign. It's just now when the paperwork comes in, you know what I'm saying, and you're giving a bilateral contract, not a bilateral, a lateral contract, really, because you just sign it because you think it's just my duty as an American citizen to just sign my child with a birth certificate and stuff like that. Anyway, I don't want to even go to that talk, but that's what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But there's remedies. There's remedies. That's a whole different discussion. But a lot of that, trust me, listen, look into that. A lot of those practices, right, of organizational, those are organizations, and those practices of rules, regulations, and establishing treaties. You know what I'm saying? All of that was started by the Millennium Moors that came in with Abu Bakr II, because he spent time traveling all through North America, hiding and stockpiling the gold. Hey, that's another story. That's a nice documentary that I was watching. But you say, oh, how can we build on that? That's my barometer right there. You know how we can build on that? Because when you speak this right to your children and you make them proud of who they are, right? They take this and it becomes part of their character. Instead of saying your ancestors was just slaves, all of you just came here as slaves. You know what I'm saying? Chain and you were savages. That's whole narrative. You're gonna teach that to your children that they're savages? You know what I'm saying? And that they are, they're the monkeys, all that. You're gonna teach that to your kids and stuff like that? Or you're gonna teach them that they're men of stature, they're gods. You know what I'm saying? They're men of stature. They're men of educated. They come from an educated line of ancestors that came to these parts. And yeah, slaves mixed in because they try to tie the vine, but then they try to enslave everybody because they try to kill the knowledge. But those that had the knowledge and moved into certain areas never were conquered or enslaved. Never was conquered or enslaved. That's what the 12 years of slavery is all about. There are certain pockets, right, especially in the Caribbean or Africa, here in America, in the Caribbean, in Latin America, pockets of our ancestors that never were conquered or enslaved. But then they eventually they mixed in. They mixed in with the Mesoamerican, and then they mixed in with the other population that came in, the Portuguese came in, the Spaniards came in, or the mulattoes came in. The mulattoes from the Portuguese side, and the mulattoes from the Spanish side. But they were all mulattoes. They were all mulattoes. Just some spoke Portuguese and some spoke Castilian or Castellano. You know what I'm saying? That's only the difference. You know what I'm saying? But they came from the Iberian Peninsula, and they started to migrate over and came over like that. You know what I'm saying? But it was easy for them because they already had North African Berber. They already had this in their genetics. In their genetics. You know what I'm saying? So they were able to, you know, connect. Connect. You know. But in the African also, you know what I'm saying, were able to connect with that Iberian because they knew of the lineages. They knew of the lineages that passed on into Morocco, Mauritania, Morocco, and into the Iberian Peninsula. Remember, I told you, Andalus, Ande is a Malian word. Yeah, you find it in Mali. Ande, it means to travel, you know? And then we say andando, andale, andolini, anda, yeah, andale. You know what I'm saying? Travel, go. You know what I'm saying? That's Mali. Those are Mande words. I looked it up. I got the dictionary. I'll show you one day. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to do an introduction. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Talk about um, you know what I'm saying? It's a genetic doctrine and it's active, and I see it. I'm witnessing that it's activating a lot of our brothers and sisters, especially here in the America and in the Caribbean and Trinidad, and I see it a lot. And you're gonna see a lot of it more activating a lot of the Hispanic side too. You know what I'm saying? With the Hispanic side. You know what I'm saying? Dominicans, because they know. Yeah, Saba, yo conozco eso ahí, they'll tell you in a minute. They know. You know what I'm saying? Especially those that are well learned in school. You know what I'm saying? And know the customs. Like when you look in the music, the bomba coming from Gabon or coming from the Congo, Benin, and coming over. But the Africans that they said they took as slaves were from Nigeria. Hey, well, so how did that Gabon? You know what I'm saying? How did that happen? Did they take slaves from the Congo? They could have taken some slaves from the Congo. They could have taken some slaves from Benin or Ghana and stuff like that, and they took some from Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? They could have. But the majority, when you look at the primary sources, and you look at genetics, and you look at the embarkment and the de-embarkment, and you match them up with the actually shipping records of how many slaves they had on the ship. A lot of these ships, when 5 slaves could aboard the ships, when by the time they came over, there was none that debarked it because they were dead. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of count of that. 20, 100. The most I ever seen in any of those shipping was, I think, 200 and something in one ship. Hey, what's up, football player? So, you know what I'm saying? That's anyway, I'm gonna leave it there, man. I've been 1 hour. So this is just a little touch up. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna really get into. I'm gonna show you the actual map and where the city of Saba is and Soba, and show you more about the Sheba and the Sabaeans and the Minians and so and so and so, and some of the doctrine of Sahuf. You know what I'm saying? And some of the things we were already prepared back then. Panabayan already prepared us by even introducing us to the Sahuf. You know what I'm saying? And those records. You know what I'm saying? And the book of Adam and this book of that is what the Sabaeans read. You know what I'm saying? That's found very in the Sabaean culture. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna go over that. Okay. Anyway, right now, just like to say all in blessings and to the next one.